Okay, so I will start my presentation. So today I will talk about the research trend on recent text-to-image generation, especially from the big company. So this is my main references. First from DALL-E, zero-shot text-to-image generation from ICML 2021, Glide towards photorealistic image generation and editing with text-guided diffusion models. It's on arXiv, uploaded on December. DALL-E 2 or Unclip, hierarchical text conditional image generation with clip latence, uploaded April 2022. Imagine, photorealistic text-to-image diffusion model with deep language understanding, uploaded May 2022. And then the last one is Party, scaling autoregressive models for content-rich text-to-image generation, uploaded on arXiv just last month. So the first three is from OpenAI, and then the last two is from Google. And then also, along with this research, the related or additional basis is Pixel RNN or Pixel CNN from ICML 2016, GPT-3 from NeoRIPS 2020, Image GPT from ICML 2020, VQ-VAE is from NeoRIPS 2017, Clip from ICML 2021, and VQGAN from CVPR 2021, and then the last is VID VQGAN from iClear 2022. So I will talk about these 7 research just briefly for the additional basis for the main paper. And also this is something that already presented or already talked before. I've talked about GAN and VAE and also transformer, and then Kakusan already talked a lot about VIT, and then I also already talked about diffusion model. So first about image generative model, we know, like I said, I've already mentioned about generative adversarial networks, variational autoencoder, and diffusion model. So for now, we will talk about autoregressive generative model. And then actually, there's also another one technique for image generative model, which is flow model. But I don't really understand about flow model, so maybe just another day. So first is I'm going to talk about Pixel CNN or Pixel RNN. It is a technique that started one of the most promising families of autoregressive image generative model. So image generative model tries to capture the distribution of dependency between pixels in its parameter. So it is autoregressive, so sequentially generate one pixel at a time in an image. So for example, this is the input of the system. And then from this input, the model is trained to continue drawing the pixel so that the image will be completed. So it generates pixel sequentially one by one based on what pixel the model can see. So the Pixel RNN and the Pixel CNN mostly almost the same. This is the general architecture. It generates each pixel channel intensity sequentially. So for the input context, it will first generate the intensity of red, and then the intensity will become the next input to generate the green channel, and then again to generate the blue channel, and then it comes back, the whole pixel comes back again for the next pixel generation. So the architecture is mostly like this. It is either a form of a pixel CNN, which to generate one pixel, it can look the immediate pixel on the left and upper side, or using row LSTM, where to generate one pixel, it can see the whole pixel on the row above it, or the diagonal BLSTM, where it can see all pixel above and on the left. And so the result is Pixel CNN and Pixel RNN are a simple, stable, and works well, but it is slow because it is autoregressive and it needs to generate one pixel at a time until the image is complete. So there is autoregressive image generation, and then we know about transformer, so we can skip this. Next is generative pre-trained transformer. So this is a language model, not image model, but the story goes from here. GPT-3, it is unsupervised autoregressive language model using transformer, designed with a decoder-only transformer from OpenAI. It is scaled up GPT-2 with 175 billion parameters trained with 570 gigabytes of data. The special thing about GPT-3 is that the model was not built with special domain knowledge, but it can complete any domain-specific tasks. So the model does not need to be fine-tuned. We know that fine-tuning is that we retrain or continue training an existing already trained model that is trained using a huge dataset for general purpose, and then we retrain or continue training fine-tune on specific dataset. For example, we can fine-tune GPT-2 that is already pre-trained to perform some kind of text translation. For example, in here, during inference, we can input word and then it can show, for example, French word of cheese. But GPT-3, we can use GPT-3 in zero-shot manner, which is just use the pre-training model as is without changing anything. The way we tell the model how what task it needs to do is we put the description or the task in the input itself. So for example, we put translate English to French and then token enter, and then we put what word we want to translate, and then we ask the GPT-3 to continue the whole sentence, so it should produce what the French word of cheese. And this is zero shot, but maybe if zero shot is too hard, so the next step is one shot testing. It is a zero shot, but we add one new training example so that the input will be translate English to French, token enter, C author is this Loterie de Mer, and then token enter, and then what word we want to translate. And then from here, we give one example to help the model to understand what the task is. And then the next step is the few shot, where the same as one shot, but we give more example to help the model. So this is zero shot or one shot or few shot capability that GPT-3 can do. So this is the example of GPT-3 results. All this is done using the same model without any changing on the pre-trained model. It can generate dialogue, it can do impersonation, essays, fiction, code completion, humor, Q&A, and everything. So for example, we can just tell the model correct this standard English. She went to the market, and then the GPT-3 will continue, she fix the English structure and so on. And it can do even code and then create some joke and a lot more. So why did it work? Arguably because GPT-3 is huge model, a 175 billion model, and it trained with enormous amount of data. So we can arguably say that the GPT have enough capability and memory to distill and store and remember the information that exists within this huge dataset, this whole internet dataset. So although it is not trained specifically to do text translation, maybe somewhere inside this common crawl internet dataset, the GPT-3 already read some text about translating English word and a French word, that it can somehow distill those information and produce the result whatever we want. And this is GPT-3. And then from OpenAI, they try to bring this zero-shot capability from language to image tags. So they introduce ImageGPT, which is auto-regressive image generative model using transformer, which is basically, it is a pixel CNN but with transformer in the middle. So not with CNN or LSTM, but it generates auto-regressively using a transformer. So with the pixel CNN, the model have knowledge about the spatial structure to the input, but with transformer, it is done without the knowledge of 2D structure. So it is a transformer to predict pixel instead of a language token. The problem is with transformer, because we need to stretch the image into one vector, and then with the attention, the memory, the transformer will scale quadratically with the context length. So to reduce those memory requirements, their approach is to resize the image into a small image of 32 by 32 or 48 by 48 or 64 by 64, and then they reduce it further by using K-means cluster to compress the 3 channel into one color palette of 9-bit. So they use K-means clustering to cluster the whole dataset into just 9-bit color code. And this is before VIT, so this is the way they mitigate the memory requirements. And then the ImageGPT actually intended for image classification tasks. So they train the autoregressive image generation to be fine-tuned the information that is already distilled inside the transformer to be used for the classification. We can either put a classification layer on the last transformer layer or somewhere in one of the transformer layer in the middle. And then the result is using this technique to perform fine tuning. It result better or match the accuracy of the larger top supervised pre-train. So for example, if we use all the information and put the classification and then fine tune everything, it perform much better than the one model that is specifically trained for that dataset. Or if we just put a linear probe or just a classifier and then train just the classifier itself without training the transformer, it matches the accuracy of a larger model that is specifically trained. The same as Pixel CNN, because it is autoregressive model, so we can just start from a random pixel and then tell the image GPT to generate a new image. So it can do image sampling and generate these new images. And that's the image GPT. So the next is variational autoencoder, which is I already talked about, so we can skip this. Now into the VQ-VAE, or the vector quantized variational autoencoder. So it is a VAE that learns discrete latent representation. So the idea in here is that the latent space does not have to be continuous vector. So it can be just discrete number, because the latent vector essentially is just a form of numerical representation for the data. So we can form it to be just discrete value. Now the problem is how to construct those discrete latent. So they introduce something in a sense of a visual vocabulary. So they introduce a discrete latent codebook, which is a finite set of possible latent vectors. So this is a dictionary of what latent vectors possible to generate image. So it's like representing the image as a sequence of symbol or language token, such as we use a language model. So in language model, we know we input text and then we have our vocabulary. So it is similar concept, but it is a visual vocabulary. So during training, we use a normal encoder and decoder for the VAE, but the output of the VAE, output of the encoder, each vector will be compared to the codebook or the vocabulary, and which latent code that is closest to the output of the encoder will be given to the decoder. So from this output, we reshape into vector from 3-dimensional into 2-dimensional. We calculate the distance each output to the code, and then we get which code is the closest, and then we copy and then we reshape into the new latent, which will be used for the decoder to generate the image. And then the codebook itself is learned, so it is a bidirectional problem, because we learn how the encoder can generate latent vector that match the codebook, but we also train how to make the codebook as close as possible to the output of the encoder. So this is learning codebook vectors to align the encoder, and learning the encoder to output that align codebook vector. And this is the result of those compression. After learning the codebook, we can input the original image, reduce it into latent vector, and then from the latent vector that is taken from the codebook, we can reconstruct the image. So in here they use a codebook of 512 vector possible latent code. And then to generate a new image, in here they train a pixel CNN to perform the generation. So the way they train the pixel CNN is first from the dataset, use the encoder to extract all of the latent code from the dataset. So this is become the new dataset. And then we train pixel CNN normally, but we train pixel CNN to complete the latent code. So this is the latent code indices from the codebook. We train to complete the latent indices. And then when the pixel CNN already trained, we can just start from zero or start from random latent code, and then use pixel CNN to complete the image, and then use the VQ-VAE decoder to reconstruct the image. And this is the VQ-VAE result. So yeah, this is, we can just use pixel CNN to complete the code indices, and then use the codebook to get the latent code and then reconstruct. It presents state-of-the-art result on image. And not only image, it can also generate text, audio, and also video. And that's all for the VQ-VAE. Now to the text to image. First we have DALL-E from 2021. It is a text-to-image generator model using transformer that auto-regressively models the text and image token as a single data stream. It used discrete VAE, and then it switched the pixel CNN using 12 billion parameter of GPT-3. And then they train on 250 million image text pair, and DAL-E capable of resulting a flexible high fidelity image, controllable through natural language, and able to generate new image in zero-shot fashion. So the inside of DAL-E, they use discrete VAE, which is inspired by VQ-VAE2. It compressed 256 by 256 image into 32 by 32 grid of image token, the same as VQ-VAE, but they use much larger codebooks, which is 8,000 possible token. And then for the generator itself, they change the pixel CNN. They use transformer decoder. So they concatenate the text token with the image token into a single array. So we input the text description in here. We get the token. And then we input image into discrete VAE encoder. We get the image vector code. We concatenate everything into one, and then we feed it into the transformer to generate the next latent code for the image. And then we do this auto-regressively until the image code is complete, and then we can put to the DVAE decoder to reconstruct the image. The difference in here for the VQ-VAE and DVAE is that the VQ-VAE uses Euclidean distance to check the latent code, and then they just copy what is the nearest into the input for the decoder. The problem in here is that this process is non-differentiable, so they have a trick to perform gradient skip during training, where in DVAE, the output of the encoder is not the code itself. So the encoder doesn't try to output the code, but it output a distribution of codebook vector. So in each vector in here, it is the distribution of how likely which vector is used in this location. So with this setup, we can use softmax sample, which is called this Gumbel softmax relaxation. We can sample from this distribution. We get the Gumbel softmax weight, and then we just dot product with the codebook like attention, calculate how much of each vector that we want to use. So we calculate this, and then we get the new latent code, and that then we fed into decoder to reconstruct the image. So with this process, it is now differentiable, so it doesn't need like a gradient skipping technique to train this model. And then the next modification is that they are not like VQ-VAE, it not directly predict or choose the next latent index like in Pixel CNN, because it uses softmax to choose the latent code index. But in here, the output of transformer is the distribution of the codebook, and then we can sample from those distribution to choose what index we want to input for the next autoregressive. With this sampling mechanism, it means that from the same text, we can have different images if we try over and over again, because it is a sampling, so it's randomly generated, but each image will have the same structure of still generating the correct image according to the text. And this is the DAL-E result. For example, the first row is the actual image for the text. This is the DAL-E result on the second row, and then the third row is the DF-GAN that they use to compare their technique. So in here we can see that it is mostly correct image, although the image is blurry, but the content, the structure is matched perfectly with the text that is inputted. And then it also has the capability of zero-shot generation. For example, here they train the model on Wikipedia image and GFT image dataset, but they test to generate a bird that the text is taken from CUB bird dataset. So DAL-E is not trained with bird dataset, but it can still draw a good image from this caption of CUB dataset. And they show that the evaluation for the model compared to the DF-GAN, human choose DAL-E way compared to the DF-GAN result. And then another zero-shot capability of DAL-E is that we can combine unrelated concept, image-to-image translation, zero-shot visual reasoning, and a lot more. For example, here we can input half-completed image into the DVAE encoder. We get the current code And then in the description, we ask the transformer, for example in here, please complete the image with the exact same cat on the top, but draw it as a sketch on the bottom. And then we auto-regressively complete the code, and then from the completed code we can use the decoder to generate some result like this. So it has zero-shot capability. Although the transformer or the DAL-E is not trained with this kind of tasks, it can still do that. And then this DAL-E details, it has 12 billion parameter of GPT-3. It is trained using 1016 GB V100 GPUs, using 32 by 32 image token vocabulary, and then using 256 text token. The training dataset is Wikipedia and YFCC dataset, which consists of 250 million image text pair. That's all for the DAL-E. Next is a Vision transformer. Like I said, Kaku-san already talked about this, so we can skip this. Next is the contrastive language image pre-training. Clip from OpenAI. Basically, it learns visual concept from natural language supervision. The goal is to perform encoding of image and text into a similar embedding. It trained on 400 million images and caption taken from the internet. The encoder is using VIT or ResNet, and then the text encoder is using GPT-2. So the clip architecture is trained with contrastive learning, which is to maximize the cosine similarity of the embedding of image and embedding of text. So the training of clip is we input a batch of text into the text encoder. So we have n vector of each encoded text, and then we have the corresponding image for each caption. We feed the image into image encoder, and we have the vector for each image. And then we train so that the cosine similarity, for example here, we know that text 1 is the caption for the image 1, text 2 is the caption for image 2, and so on. We train so that the cosine similarity of image 1 and text 1 is as high as possible. And then we train so that a cosine similarity of image 1 and other text as low as possible. So we want this diagonal as high as possible, and then everything else should be 0 or as low as possible. So this is contrastive learning. The result of this training, we will have a text encoder that it can receive input any text we want, and it will have an embedding that will closely match with any image the text described. So with this, it achieves both image classification and image searching capability, because essentially we do two-way classification using this contrastive learning. And then we can use the clip for a zero-shot classification. So for example, let's say we have a new dataset and we want to make a classification using that dataset. Usually we train the image classification to a specific set of label, right? But then, for example, we made classification to perform classification for cat, dog, and horse, and for some reason maybe we have a new image that is bird. We can no longer use this model because we need to train a new one that have a bird class. There is a problem of classification, right? But using this zero-shot classification capability of clip, we can get classification with any label we want. Because in any time we want, we can just put a new label, and then this new label will just become a new vector. So for example, if we want to classify an image, is it a cat, a dog, or a horse, we can just put, or maybe this is a plane, a car, or a dog. We can just put a plane, a car, or a dog, and then it will become 3 vectors. And then the image we can input into the encoder. We have 1 vector, and then we just check using softmax from the cosine similarity which vector is it closest to, and we can get what the class. And then for some reason, if we want to add a new label, we can just put those label in the text encoder, and we will have a new vector and our classification ready to go without training the model again. So it is a zero-shot classification. And it shows that the zero-shot clip compared to training a linear classification on top of pre-trained ResNet, most of the time it performs better. And this is clip. The clip itself not used inside the DAL-E. It is only used as re-ranking. So in DALL-E, we can generate multiple images from one caption. The way they pick the best image is they sample many images from the same caption, and then we can check the clip score, how close the cosine similarity, how close each image to the caption, and then we pick the best image. So this is the capability of image searching from pretrained capability, because we can do this in the opposite way. If we have just one text, then it will output just one vector. And then if we have multiple image, then we have multiple vectors on the image side. And then we can just check which image is the closest similar to the text that we want to check. And this is the idea of zero-shot image search. And then this is the result from DALL-E. If we just generate one image using this caption, we get this image. If we sample 500 images, and then we check, we just output the highest clip score from this caption, we get much better image compared to if we just generate one image. And so that is clip. Now we come to the diffusion. I already talked about this, so we can skip this. At the end of 2021, OpenAI introduced this guided language to image diffusion for generative and editing. It is a basis for the DALL-E 2, so we can say that it is some kind of DALL-E 1.5. It is a 3.5 billion parameters text-guided diffusion model. It is conditioned on natural language description and able to generate 256 by 256 images. It is trained on the same dataset as DALL-E, and it has better FID and human evaluation. It uses the augmented ADM model. It receives input of noise image into a modified UNet. So they modified UNet so that it has attention layer in the UNet, and then they input the caption into a transformer that the output of the transformer is channeled into each attention layer inside this UNet. So this is the general idea of the architecture. It receives a noise image, and then it tries to generate the less noisy version, and then it receives the caption in transformer. So it predicts image for the next diffusion step. The final token of embedding is used as class embedding, and the last layer of transformer, yes, this is the last layer of transformer, is projected into each attention layer inside this UNet architecture. And then they introduce this guiding diffusion, which is a classifier guided diffusion, but they also introduce a classifier free guidance. So it is a technique to guide the diffusion so that the image will match better to the caption. They use the classifier guidance the same as DDPM research using external classifier. In here, the classifier is using clip model that is trained on a noise dataset. And then they introduce a classifier free guidance that does not require classifier model to guide the diffusion. So this is the way they do the guiding diffusion. So in clip, each time they generate an image, they check the score with the caption for the noise clip, and then we use the gradient to guide the next sample into a better image. For the classifier free guidance, they generate image twice, with and without the caption. So they generate image without caption, and then they generate image with the caption, and then they calculate the difference between these two images, and then add the difference into the unconditioned image to extrapolate the generation step. And this is the result for the glide. This is the glide with classifier free guidance. This is glide with clip compared to DALL-E, XMC GAN, and then this is the real image. So it turns out that the classifier free glide produce better images than the clip guided ones. So I think this is the reason why glide is not called DALL-E 2, because I think if this one performs better, this model will be called DALL-E 2. But because the result is not better, so it is not called DALL-E 2, it's just called glide. That's why OpenAI does not really promote this technique. But because it uses diffusion, it has more versatile capability compared to the DALL-E. So it can perform image in painting. So during training, For this example, during training, we randomly delete a part of the image and then train the glide to diffuse this max out image into what it should be, as the caption says. And then during inference, we can just delete any part of the image and then we input the caption that what we want to draw in this deleted area. And then this is the example of application of image in painting. For example, here we can generate a whole image of a cozy living room and then we delete a part and then we put a new caption, a painting of corgi. So the model knows that it needs to draw this caption in this area. So it draws this corgi dog. And then we can, from here, we delete again. We put a new caption to draw in this area and it draws a coffee table and so on. So this is the capability of image in painting. And the glide, the text encoder transformer is 1.2 billion. The image diffusion is 2.3 billion. It uses upsampling because image diffusion is done in small resolution image. So it uses upsampling diffusion to generate a higher resolution. It is 1.5 billion with total. So the total parameter is 6 billion. It trained with the same dataset as DALL-E, but because it is a diffusion, so we start image and then we generate a new image, less noise image, and so iteratively. So it is slow inference. It needs 15 seconds to sample just one image using NVIDIA A100 GPU. And after glide, we have DALL-E 2. The official model name is Unclip, which is a 3.5 billion of diffusion model. It able to generate even larger image, again using diffusion, so it is a form of glide, but it is more diverse and higher resolution than glide. So the way they do is they introduce two models inside this DALL-E 2, which is the prior and the decoder. The prior, here, they convert text embedding into clip image embedding. And then the unclip or the decoder, it generates the image from that clip image embedding. So this is the comparison from clip, glide, and DALL-E 2. So even in clip, we have text encoder and image encoder. We feed input image into clip image encoder. We get clip image embedding. We feed the caption. We get the clip text embedding. And then the clip objective is that we make these two embeddings as similar as possible. In glide, we use just a transformer text encoder, right? And then we tell the glide diffusion to convert this text embedding into image. So this is why it is harder for glide to generate better image. When in DALL-E 2, it used the clip text encoder to convert the caption into text embedding. And then, although in here we can say that the clip task is to make the embedding as similar as possible, but maybe it is not actually the same, it is just similar. So they use the prior diffusion to somehow convert or diffuse this clip text embedding, convert it into clip image embedding. So from here, the prior diffusion changed from here into image embedding. So after we get the image embedding, we can use, this is almost similar model to convert the image embedding and then reconstruct the image. That's why they called it unclip, because it is the opposite way of the clip. So that's why they call it unclip diffusion. So they hypothesize that this technique is better than glide because the glide diffusion task is to change from text into image. But from here, the task, the diffusion to change the text into image is done by another model. And then they tried to prove those hypotheses if they use diffusion just from the text encoder. Essentially, this is just glide. This is the result from the caption. If they use text encoder transformer and just the text embedding from clip without the prior, and then they have this result, which is still good. But when they use prior diffusion to change from the text into image embedding before feed it into the unclip, it gets even better image using the same caption. And then it opens a lot more capability using DALL-E 2. They can use image variation. So we can input image into the clip image encoder. We get the image embedding. We can sample multiple image embedding from this embedding, and then we can use the unclip diffusion to generate a new image with the same structure or the same feature as the original image, because the structure or the feature is encoded inside this vocabulary, right? That's why it can generate a new image with the same structure, same criteria as the original image. And also we can do image interpolation. So we can input image into clip encoder. We get this first image embedding. We input another image. We get the second image embedding. We use spherical interpolation to interpolate from one embedding to the second embedding. We can fit into the unclip diffusion to generate the interpolation from one image into another image. We can also, because it is clip, and then the unclip diffusion receive text and image, we can use a language guided image manipulation. So we can input the old caption, we get the text embedding from clip, we input a new caption, we get the second text embedding. Again, we use spherical interpolation to interpolate between the text embedding, and then we fit this embedding into unclip, and then we get this result. So from image, the original image with the original caption, with more change embedding into the new caption, we can generate a new image that match the new caption. So this is DALL-E 2. It used clip text encoder 250 million. It used prior diffusion of 1 billion parameters. The unclip diffusion itself is 3.5 billion, match with the glide. And then it generates 64 by 64. It used upsampling diffusion 700 million parameters. And then the second upsampling of 300 million. So the total parameter size is 5.7 billion parameters. Next, we have the contender, Imagine, a diffusion model from Google. So they say that it outperforms DALL-E 2 in terms of AI image generation, precision, and quality. It is almost the same. So it's 2 billion parameters image generator using classifier-free guided diffusion. So it really matches to Glide. The difference here is that they use much bigger transformer. So they use T5XXL, which is the biggest transformer Google has, 4.6 billion parameters transformer for the text encoder. So they also modify the UNet. They call it efficient UNet, where they shift the parameter from high resolution into low resolution. They change the order of scaling up and down so that it's more efficient, compute efficient, memory efficient, and converge faster. So this is the result from Imagine. It generates a higher quality image, which is more crisp and more vibrant color than DALL-E and DALL-E 2. And then with this Imagine model, they also introduced this draw benchmark technique, which is a benchmark comparing human judgment to the output for the text-to-image generator. So they thought that with many text-to-image model introduced in recent years, we become more and more difficult to judge which model is better. So they introduced a draw bench, which is an evaluation benchmark with 11 category of prompt, so approximately 200 prompts that other text-to-image model can use to better judge the performance of their model. So the text prompts systematically test compositionally, cardinality, spatial relationship, and so on. And then they show, using this draw benchmark, Imagine is favored by human compared to VQGAN, DALL-E 2, and LDM. This is the example of draw bench example. So this is the category, 11 categories, colors, counting, conflicting, and so on. This is the example of prompt to ability to generate objects, a blue colored dog. Ability to generate conflicting object, a horse riding an astronaut, and so on. So for example, the testing to human is that the human will be shown a set of image like this. So this is image A, B, A, B, A, B, and so on. And then the human was asked which set of image is higher quality. Is it A or B? And then from those answer, we can objectively say which set of image is better than the other. And from that benchmark, they say that Imagen is better than DALL-E 2, where DALL-E 2 can struggle to correctly assign color to object, especially when there are more than one object. For this example, the text is a yellow book and a red face. DALL-E sometimes miscolor the objects. In this example, they show that Glide is even better than DALL-E 2. And also, Imagen perform better at spelling, where it is known that arranging pixel to spell a word is very difficult. But in here, Imagen can spell readable text inside the image better than Glide and DALL-E 2. So yes, this is the Imagen detail. So 4.6 billion transformer, 2 billion image diffusion, 600 million parameters, 400 million parameter for the super resolution model or upsampling diffusion. So the total parameter is 7.6 billion parameters. They train using 256 TPU for the image diffusion and then 128 TPU for the upsampling diffusion. They use internal dataset, which is a private dataset for Google, 460 million image, and then the public Leon dataset of 400 million image. And then the last but not least is the PARTI or Pathways Autoregressive Text to Image. It is autoregressive, so we come full circle back into the autoregressive image generation. It is an all transformer generator version of DALL-E. So they show that scaling up the model and training does indeed increase the performance. First, before we talk about PARTI, I want to talk about VQGAN because the story is very interesting. So VQGAN is a modification of VQVAE that use discrimination and perpetual loss to improve the performance, to keep good perceptual quality and increase compression rate. So it is same as DALL-E, where they change the pixel CNN and then they change using transformer. And then also in here they use discriminator to check the quality of the image. It is the same two-stage training as DALL-E or VQVAE. The difference is that they use perception loss plus adversarial loss instead of MSE on pixel space. And then they use this patch-based discriminator, which is to classify overlapping patch of image real or not. So usually the discriminator only classify 1 or 0, real or fake, right? But in here, the discriminator classify overlapping patch into a real, fake, real, fake, real, fake. So it's not just one label for one image. And then for the transformer training, they freeze the GAN and then like DALL-E, train autoregressively to predict the next codeboot index. And then they also generate high resolution image. They use a local sliding window trick to generate high resolution images. So this is a summary of what changed. So the VQVAE use the reconstruction loss, which is MSE loss on the pixel. DALL-E also use reconstruction loss with the KL loss. And then the VQGAN use perception loss, which is MSE on the feature level, not on the pixel level. It also use adversarial loss because of the discriminator. Codeboot matching, it use nearest neighbor. DALL-E use Gumbel softmax relaxation. VQGAN back using nearest neighbor. Image generator using pixel CNN, and DALL-E and VQGAN using transformer. And then this is the discriminator patch base. VQVAE using decompression, the latent code compression into 32 by 32. DALL-E also into 32 by 32. But VQGAN, so this is from Google. This is from OpenAI. VQGAN is introduced by a researcher from Heidelberg University in Germany. So they do not have a resource to train this big of model. So they can only train to compress a smaller version into a 16 by 16. But even then, they produce a good quality, which a crisp and high resolution image, which we know that VAE tend to blur the image. That's why in the original VQ VAE, the author suggests that to improve the quality using GAN, and so this is the improvement where the compression result is more detailed than using VAE. And even if they reduce the compression into 16 by 16, it is still detailed, although some original feature is well broken. And then this is the result of the high quality, high resolution image from VQ GAN. And then we have VIT VQ GAN. So here comes Google with no expense to spare. So it is an all transformer VQ GAN trained on 128 TPU V4 chips. So this is the architecture, which is essentially the same as the VQ GAN, but they have the capability to train a bigger model, and that's it basically. And so yeah, what changed? They changed the CNN into VIT. They use style gun discriminator, and then they use all loss in here. So they use reconstruction loss, perception loss, and then style gun loss. They still use nearest neck bore, and they use transformer. So it is all transformer VQ gun with the latent space trained with 32 by 32. The only improvement on the architecture is that they project the codebook into a smaller codebook. So in VQ VAE or VQ GAN or DAL-E, they use the codebook of 8192 codes with the dimension of 768 factor. So in this VIT VQ GAN, they use a smaller codebook. So they still use 8000 vocabulary, but the dimension is only 32. So it is much smaller. They use linear projection to compress from 700 into 32 dimension codebook. It improves the model capacity and efficiency. But everything else is the same. It results better FID, better backbone for classification, and better image. This is the VIT VQ GAN, which is just for image compression and image generation. And then we back into party, where they put transformer to the VIT, which is basically DAL-E, to perform the text to image generation. So they train text encoder and decoder transformer to combine the text and image from the frozen VIT VQ GAN. The difference with DAL-E is that DAL-E use decoder only transformer. So in DAL-E, this text will also fit into the transformer decoder, right? But in party, they separate the text and the image transformer. So the text input, we input into the transformer encoder. The information, attention information will transfer into the transformer decoder for the image. So the input, the latent code from VIT VQ GAN will input in here. We get the text, and then it auto-regressively generate a new latent code. And then we back into they call it the tokenizer to generate the image. And that's all. Party. Basically, it increase the model size, so it will produce better image. So the text encoder, the transformer encoder and decoder, they increase from 175 million up to 4 billion, and then the text decoder up to 16 billion. The image decoder, which is the VIT VQ GAN, is frozen 600 million. They also use upsampling CNN. So this one is the only convolution network for the upsampling. 15 million and 30 million parameter. So the total size is from 1 billion, just shy below 1 billion, up to 20 billion. Compared to DAL-E, which is 12 billion, Glide 6 billion, DAL-E2 5 billion, and Imagine 7 billion. So this is the largest, currently the largest text-to-image generator model. And they show extensively in the paper how they train, I don't know how many TPU they use, using model parallelism and data parallelism. They use public dataset, Leon 400 million, FIT 400 million, GFT, and Align dataset. And then the result, they can manage a long and complex prompt that required to accurately, they said that it required to accurately reflect the word knowledge and then compose many participant and object with fine-grained detail and interaction. And then they achieve a zero-shot FID score to MS Coco of 7.2. And if we fine-tune for the MS Coco, it gets even better FID. So they compare the image realism and image text match that the party model is greatly favored by human voter compared to other model, which is this is just XMC GAN and text retrieval. And this is the party result. They show that it consistently that the quality improve consistently while scaling the model. So with just small party, it generate image. It cannot spell very much. It cannot generate a good proportional image. But with 20 billion, it can write neatly very deep learning sign, and then it can generate a good Porsche 356 parked in front of a yellow brick wall like this. And then with this paper, they introduce another dataset. So this is a party prompts dataset, which is just the text dataset, just the prompt that other people can use to check the quality of their model with the same prompts. So it is a rich set over 1,600 prompts in English that can be used to measure the model capability across various category and challenge aspects. It is comprehensively evaluate and test the limit of text-to-image to synthesize image. So I think this party prompts dataset is introduced largely because a conundrum or a commotion, a debate whether the AI really understand the text that is inputted. So a while back, because people cannot access the model, right? People asked the author to please generate this prompt, please generate this prompt, and so on. So maybe this is also the motivation why they introduced those standardized prompts, and also to check the quality, because a while back the conundrum is that when the model either DALL-E or Imagine or Glide is given a text like a horse riding an astronaut, the model somehow misunderstood and think a horse riding astronaut. So this prompt generate this image in Imagine, and this is the DALL-E. So it cannot really generate a correct way because it is a case of prompt engineering where phrasing, adding details, and different interpretation of prompts will generate either a better or worse image. And then actually, when the author is challenged with these tasks, adding detail like sitting or on shoulder of or on the back of, or even defining that it is a small horse riding an astronaut or a tiny horse riding an astronaut, it produces a better image with Imagine, Party, and this is DALL-E 2. So a good prompt is essential to generate better image. So I think this is the motivation why they introduce a dataset to standardize the text prompt to test. So this is party prompts. The difference with Drawbench only 11 labels, and the party prompts increase the label. So now it is 23 with 12 categories and 11 challenging aspects. Drawbench only 200 something prompts, and then in party prompts it has 1,600 prompts. So this is the example, like a basic, just draw a rabbit, a margarita, or maybe a linguistic structure or a quantity, draw 7 dogs sitting around a poker table, and so on. So this is a challenging and the same prompts that everyone can use to benchmark their model. And this is the result of the party. So this is an example of a detailed long prompt that the party needs to generate with some word that it needs to draw, colorful flowers and the word peace, and then it shows that the party can, yes, maybe this peace. And then what interesting in here that they also understand mathematical prompt like this. So a giant cobra snake made from eggs, where X is salad, pancake, sushi, and corn, and then it able to generate salad, pancake, sushi, and corn cobra snake. And even further, they can use 3/4 image of an X, Y, I don't know, the Z, maybe in this is the Z, so they can generate in X, Y, Z axis where the X is blue, red, yellow, The Y is the year 77, 97, and 2017, where the image is Porsche, Corvette, and Ford F-150. And then so the other side will be like the combination of Porsche and Corvette become like this. Combination of Porsche and Ford become like this. It is incredible. And lastly, they also introduced a concept of a growing cherry tree. So they criticize because, like any other research publication, they cherry pick the image and the prompts that will show good on their paper. But in here, they show how they do the cherry picking. So they doesn't just show the good image, but they tell us how they arrive to that image. So it is a systematically way of cherry picking. So the way they do is they develop prompts in increment while interacting the model. So for example, here they generate a simple prompt from this image, and then they try to add a little more detail to generate more image, and then from here they choose which detail is better, and then they continue combining the prompts, increasing the details and so on until they arrive into a long caption with a good image that they will present on the paper. And then that's all for my presentation. So this is the final comparison for the real image. And then this is the DALL-E, DALL-E 2, Party, Glide, and then this is the another technique, make a scene. And that's all from me. Thank you very much. If you have any question, please.